He's got a whole slew of lands in play. Looks like.
A couple more in hand as well.
Yeah. Jim resolving a Vendilion Click. So 3 more lands, Mutagenic Growth. Jim at a very healthy 19.
Resolving Ancestral Vision.
We're going to go to a third game here real quick.
Yeah. The only reason for Drew to continue to be in this game is Jim might show him something that can impact the way the Drew sideboards.
Yeah, it looks like Jim has boarded in his copy of Wrath of God here. But you look at the graveyard, and that'll tell you the story of the game. We see Jim's graveyard is Serum Visions, Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile, Lightning Helix, Lightning Helix. I get it. Guess what happened?
Yeah, you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to figure this one out.
Drew's graveyard is a bunch of creatures.
Benedict Cumberbatch can stay at home. We got this.
For Jim, now it's going to be, there's the Planeswalker, Nahiri the Harbinger. Upticks, discards another copy of herself to draw Jim into a Lightning Bolt, just in case it wasn't enough. Vendilion Click swings, puts Drew down to 8. He'll pass. Drew will draw. Got a bunch of lands, a Mutagenic Growth. Jim's at 18. Goblin Guide was the pickup.
Okay. If he could get 9 Goblin Guide attacks in this turn.
Yeah, we'll go to game 3. So Drew playing Zoo, losing that one. He's going to get to be on the play, though, for the third game. We'll see whether or not he can take down Jim Davis. Who will join Andrew Tenjum in the day 1 undefeated players?
Andrew Jessup, that is. So going
Apologies,
back
Andrew Jessup. Yeah.
Going back on the play, I don't hate the Zoo's position, of course, as we can see there. Lightning Helix, Timely Reinforcements, they don't make it easy. The Jeskai control deck definitely has draws that can line up very favorably here.
Well, this is one of the, I was saying before, one of the big draws to Jeskai was that it was always good against creature decks.
Yeah.
It just, sometimes it felt like that was all it was good against. So looking at the sideboards here, so on Jim Davis' side, we know that he has he's boarded in the Wrath of God. We've seen this before: Celestial Purge, Engineer Explosives, Anger of the Gods. He has a lot of things for other matchups. 2 Negates, 2 Spreading Seas, 2 Crumble to Dusts. So what's in the deck now?
Celestial Purge is solid here. We saw Ingram bring that one in. It makes sense. There's a lot of red creatures to trade with in the Zoo deck. Anger of the Gods certainly makes sense as long as Wrath of God is in. It's a more efficient version. We saw Jim cast a Vendilion Click. If you want one, good chance you want both. Click can trade with Wild Nacatl, so it's actually pretty good in these Zoo matchups. And then for Drew, mostly looking at those Thalia Guardian of Thrabrams. Especially on the play, Thalia is going to slow down these sweepers, and even just the 1-for-1 removal spells. Lightning Helix can't be cast until turn 3 in the face of Thalia. So that's pretty much what is going on here. Drew is trying to disrupt Jim slightly with Thalia, continue to beat down otherwise, and Jim's just trying to get more disruptive in general.
All right. Players can get ready for the third game. One thing I want to take time to tell you about the Star City Games newsletter. This is a free to subscribe thing in your source for Magic the Gathering news. You can get the latest on the SCG Tour. We have recaps of the weekend's events, including the match of the week. You can get exclusive deck lists and advice from some of the top players, including many of the guys on Metagame Gurus writing for the site. The recent events. You also get a rundown of some strategy from a lot of the guys over here at SCG Live. This month, Craig Krempel is writing about different formats and the current state of the SCG Tour. That's an exclusive article, so you can get all those results, and to throw in an exclusive Cardboard Crack comic every week. All you have to do is sign up. It's in the upper right-hand corner on the main page, or you can just go straight to it, starcitygames.com/newsletter.
It's free. It's great. What questions could you possibly have? Sign up now.
Sometimes it's even relevant. I believe you had written about your the Grixis Delver deck that you top-aided Indianapolis with it. You'd written about it there before you top-aided.
Not exactly.
Not exactly?
I wrote about a Dredge deck that I did not have the courage to play in the tournament before I top-aided with a different
I'll tell you
deck.
what the Valakut deck from that event. If you read the newsletter, that list was on the newsletter a month before that tournament.
Yeah. I did write about the deck I played in GP Minneapolis before I had a poor record in that tournament, so you could have had my list.
You got to work on these sales pitches, man.
You could have told me what I should have done better.
Yeah, you can read what we have to say and laugh at us about it.
There's always value in disparaging know-it-alls.
Looks like Jim Davis will be on a mulligan here for game 3. He will be on the draw, though, and especially with a deck like his that went with Ancestral Visions, if he has the early kill spells, I don't think he needs the full 7.
Yeah, Snapcaster Mage as well, one of very few ways that people are generating card advantage in Modern.
A lot of times the 3-color fair decks can mulligan pretty well here in Modern. You know, a Jund deck, they can win on 6.
Yeah. A 6-card hand with Snapcaster Mage and Lightning Bolt versus a 7-card hand that's missing one of those cards will oftentimes be an upgrade.
So Scry for Jim keeps the card on top. We're underway. This is the decider here between Iafrate and Davis. So Drew will start on an Experiment 1. But this deck's most explosive plays, as we've seen before, they're not the turn 1s, but they're the turn 2s. Where we start getting emissaries.
Burning Tree Emissary. There have been some pretty unreasonable games of Magic involving that card.
You go back over to Davis. Looks like a lot of those tools he wants are in his hand. You see Lightning Bolt, Path to Exile, and Timely Reinforcements all in the grip.
Yeah. Let's see how the mana shakes out.
Yeah, as long as he can cast those, that sounds great.
Yeah, these spells are all excellent.
Looks like 2 lands to go with them, Scalding Tarn and Basic Island. So he'll have to be careful here. He'd want this to fetch Sacred Foundry.
Yep. The funny thing is, the Zoo mana base, it's going to fetch for duels so aggressively that fetching for the untapped duel just puts you on life parity, so you're not gaining life with the timely reinforcements.
So you're saying Jim is wishing to take 4 so that he could timely for life?
Can I pay an extra life for my fetch land?
That's one of the great defenses against timely reinforcements is if you just shock yourself every turn, then they can't gain life off it. Until it's too late. You got to kill them in one big swing. Jim's going to go for the Sacred Foundry. That will get him all 3 colors of mana. And look like he's going to do it main phase so that he can hit this Experiment 1 immediately.
I like that. I don't think there's any reason to hang around and wait for things to go on and just try to catch them with timely reinforcements. There's a lot of cards that the Zoo deck could have that can really punish you for that position. Atarka's Command can make your blocks just terrible on the following turn. Possibly even just stop you from gaining the life on the card and killing you outside of combat.
You go back over to Iafrate. He shocks for another land and plays a pair of Goblin Guides. Woo! Here's a swing at Davis. He'll see a Serum Visions twice. And Jim knocked down to 13. Well, if he survives to it, I think we're okay with Timely Reinforcements working now.
Yeah, timely is good. He has to get to it. Still has the path to deal with one of these goblins, and the Serum Visions will help him find a land.
Yeah, well, he can put the lands on top, draw them immediately. That'll be great. So here's Serum Visions, plays Basic Island. The draw is another Lightning Bolt. He sees Path to Exile and Nahiri on top.
You couldn't get me to put those on the bottom fast enough in this position. He has enough 1-mana interaction. He's choked on the mana to hit. He has Basic Island and Sacred Foundry. He can't cast 2 spells a turn. He needs a land. These have to go on the bottom.
You know Nahiri's on the bottom. Jim's thinking about the path.
Don't do this to yourself, Jim. Put it on the bottom. This is a really bad card to put on top of your deck.
You could actually just Path and Bolt everything, right? What is wrong? Path to Exile, I agree. Because he has a Basic Island in play, I agree. If he had a Steam Vents, I'm much closer to wanting to keep it.
If he can 2-spell, it's a very different game.
Yeah, but that Basic Island doesn't cast anything. And he ships them both to bottom, passes back to Drew. Draw here for Drew. Looks like Flinthoof Boar. More big plays from Iafrate. How about another Goblin Guide? Here's a third one. See how many lands Jim gets to draw. All right, first one, here's an Arid Mesa. Second one, here's an island. Does he get another one? Third, here's a Celestial Purge that you might draw somewhere down the road. That was...
Look at how much better this position is because he put that path on the bottom.
He's going to go ahead and path one of those Goblin Guides. But he goes to 9 on damage.
Drew cracks a fetch in response. Doesn't really want to shuffle twice.
Well, the saving grace for Jim here is that timely reinforcements will undo the damage, and despite the fact he's taken all these beats, he has drawn a lot of extra cards. I mean, look at that turn. Drew gave him 2 more cards.
Now he's not just trying to find a third land so that he can cast timely and have a lot of other things to figure out. He has his next 2 land drops lined up, a really good spell to cast on the following turn.
While Nakatl joins the party. We go back to Jim Davis. If he can survive to cast his hand, he should be a clear favorite here.
So there is a question as to whether Jim is supposed to cast timely here or just cast 2 removal spells. And I'm leaning towards just casting 2 removal spells on this turn.
I think so. Timely, unless the only reason he wouldn't is if he thinks he may die on the next turn. Say Drew does something like bolts Jim's face, plays Reckless Bushwhacker, swings.
If he deems the life to just be absolutely irreplaceable and essential.
Because if he wants to double spell here with kill spells, he's going to have to use that Arid Mesa. 2 basic islands doesn't let him do it.
True.
He'd go to 8. It's a Reckless Bushwhacker plus one of those is a swing of 5. You're getting close. Bolt Bushwhacker would kill him if he uses that Arid Mesa.
Yeah.
And he's going to play it very safe. Just timely right now. Up to 15, 3/1/1s.
And I suppose it doesn't matter how profitable his blocks are on the next turn because he still has the option to start casting 2 removal spells a turn on the following turn.
He may just use this as a triple chump block.
Right.
Don't even try to kill any of Drew's. He has so many extra cards. He can just throw away cards to block.
And if he does that, finds a Snapcaster Mage and a land to Snapcast back the timely.
Goblin Guides, they show Vendilion Click. I'm curious. Yeah.
That's less good than Snapcaster Mage.
One of these goes in front of Nakatl for sure. The question is whether he tries to off one Goblin Guide or whether he just chumps them all. Looks like it'll be a chump of the Nakatl, a trade with a guide, and taking 2. Jim will go to 13.
Yeah, I like these blocks. Going for the trade, definitely agreeable. I also like chump blocking. The entire reason you cast timely on that turn, you're trying to conserve life, and you're just gaining more life by making that chump block.
And it's another Nakatl for Drew. He's down to 1 card, though. Jim untaps 13 life points. Draws that Vendilion Click.
Slow rolls himself on the card that was revealed the Goblin Guide.
Not sure we'll ever get to that click mattering. And now we see Purge Lightning Bolt in Jim's hand. Looks like Spell Snare as well.
Click Lightning Bolt wouldn't be an unreasonable 2 spells to cast on this turn.
Bolt and Nakatl. Mutagenic Growth from Iafrate saves it. Strong.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. I like that Iafrate. Now, this is a subtle thing. He Mutagenic Growth using life points when he had a green mana in play. It seems like it's a concession to timely reinforcements.
So, on the table, cracking for 8 will put Jim down to 5.
He's worried about snapping reinforcements or something. I
don't know.
I don't know if it matters. It probably doesn't matter, but
yeah,
there's a stomping ground there.
Now Jim's in a really tough spot.
The Mutagenic Growth was not what he wanted to see at all. He passes the turn to Drew. Drew draws, it's a fetch land, swings the team. Goblin Guide trigger. Shows Ghost Quarter, Jim draws it. Now cracks a fetch, goes to 12.
Presumably we'll see a Vendilion Click showing up to trade with the Wild Nakatl.
Okay, Click can show up.
It seems better than purging Goblin Guide anyway.
Yeah, and I'm guessing Jim will actually click himself with it here.
Yeah, he has an Ahiri he wouldn't mind cycling.
Purges the Goblin Guide.
Okay.
Well, the danger would be, I guess, if he plays Click here and Drew has any sort of kill spell. It's just, the game's
Fair.
done.
Yeah, you need to... This is a guaranteed way to not take 2 points of damage.
And Jim getting untapping, he's down to 6, but he can untap into Nahiri.
So actually, I believe I saw a Spell Snare in Jim's hand, and he has that on the backup to stop Tarka's command. I think that's the concession there.
Jim's draw here is Anger of the Gods.
Well then.
Well, he doesn't have double red, but he could ghost quarter himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Check to make sure he has a basic mountain. He does.
Yeah, it's pretty hard. It's a difficult play to make because you have to pay a lot of material to get that, but the payoff is so high.
He can Nahiri with Spell Snare up and take 3, or he can Anger with Spell Snare up. But then he has to ghost quarter himself.
Nahiriing is so dangerous because the other Nacatl would attack him down to 3.
So he taps for a blue mana, he ghost quarters his own island, gets a mountain. Uses that blue mana that's floating in his 2 red, and this is going to be Anger of the Gods. The huge draw from Jim. It's going to take care of both of Drew's wild Nacatls.
And Drew's hand is currently Arid Mesa, so won't be able to mutagenic growth his way out of that one.
Jim's at 6. Land go. He maybe, it looks like he's turned a corner, draws Sulphur Falls. Hand is Spell Snare, Vendilion Click, Nahiri, Sulphur Falls. He'll go to work. Here's Nahiri. She'll plus to 6. See if he discards. Not sure he does.
I like keeping both of these cards. For sure, I want to keep the Spell Snare.
I was going to say for sure I want to keep the Vendilion Click.
Well,
maybe
then,
we just, all right.
Then we keep them both.
He'll pass. Keeping them both. Like that about Nahiri, you still get the +2 regardless of whether you discard a card.
So with Vendilion Click plus Spell Snare, he has basically every creature in Drew's deck covered.
Yeah, Vendilion Click will trade with most of them, and Spell Snare can counter the ones that it won't trade with.
Yep.
Well, I guess there are Gore Clan Rampagers in Drew's deck. Here's Vexing Devil. Ooh. Okay.
I would not pay 4 life.
Don't pay 4 life. Goodness, no. Yeah, Drew can have a 4/3. We go back over to Davis. Draws huge Lightning Helix.
I would continue to not discard cards to Nahiri.
He only needs to keep her alive for 1 more turn. Even in these matchups, I don't think the Emrakul comes out.
Even if the Emrakul does come out, though, he has Lightning Helix. Nahiri for Snapcaster Lightning Helix is... Drew's at 10.
Yeah, it doesn't take that long.
Gaining that 6 life, like, more or less closes this game anyway.
Nahiri pluses, no discard. Yes, double checking, yes, okay. So you see he's set aside Vendilion Click and Lightning Helix. That's how he split his lands. The mana does work.
Jim's just trying to think of some oddball nonsense that could catch him somehow. Good way to find out what that could be. Click your opponent.
All right, go ahead and cast her. Cast the Vendilion Click. Target Drew. Mutagenic Growth, the card in Drew's hand. All right, so that was 6 points of damage if that Vexing Devil ever gets in there. Jim should be happy he has drawn the Lightning Helix. Otherwise, a kill spell could get him.
Jim thinking about whether or not he wants to wheel this. With Helix plus block click, he has the growth covered, but he's tapped out a Spell Snare, so a spell off the top could be pretty good here.
If Drew draws Gore Clan Rampager, this is an issue.
Yeah, for sure.
Draw from Drew is Wooded Foothills. He'll play that. Now Jim knows he's in the clear. Swings Vexing Devil at Nahiri. Jim blocks. Mutagenic Growth. Jim helixes the Vexing Devil and extends the hand from Drew. So in 3, it is Jim Davis and Jeskai control. And what a day for his team. Jim, as the team captain, ends up 9-0. He and Andrew Jessup, teammates, the 2 undefeated players at the end of day 1.
Yeah, 9-0, and also avenged Pete Ingram's loss. This was the Zoo player who gave Ingram his loss.
Incredible day for the team. So 2 players at 9-0. And they will be meeting.